Factsverse presents 10 Bizarre Facts About Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson earned quite a reputation for himself as a boxer, but his antics are what he is most remembered for. Many people think that he's completely lost it. Some believe that he is just an eccentric. Some believe his behavior is often justified. Well, he has been in the news for his bankruptcy, his stint in prison, his addiction, his facial tattoo, spousal abuse allegations, the infamous bite fight in 1997, and these are all well-known incidents. Well, here are 10 bizarre facts about Mike Tyson that you may not have known about before now. Before we get into our list, jump down to the comments and let us know who is your favorite fighter of all time. Boxing, UFC, wrestling, doesn't matter. Tell us who it is in the comments. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Mike Tyson has fought some of the toughest and most dangerous men throughout his career. In 1987, he went toe-to-toe with an elderly philosophy professor, but fortunately it did not get physical. The incident took place in 1987 when Mike was at a party in New York City with teenage supermodel Naomi Campbell. He was dating her at the time, and he and Naomi got into a fight, and Naomi's friend ran over to help. Her friend was not a boxer or a thug, it was a tiny 77-year-old man. His name was A.J. Iyer, and he was a British philosopher. When Iyer ran over to defuse the situation, Mike became enraged. He started screaming, "Do you know who the F I am? I'm the heavyweight champion of the world!" Actually, it probably sounded more like, "Do you know who the F I am? I'm the heavyweight champion of the world." Anyway, Iyer replied by saying, "And I'm the former Wykeham professor of logic. We're both preeminent in our field. I suggest that we talk about this like rational men." Well, the two men started talking, and Naomi was able to escape. Iyer may have been elderly, but he was employed by MI6 during World War II, so he was pretty well equipped to handle the situation, at least more so than other people his age. Most people consider pigeons to be rats with wings. Mike, however, has loved them since childhood. When he was only 10 years old, he broke into a home and left with a lot of money. He used $100 of that money to buy his own flock of pigeons. He took them to a rooftop one at a time. Some of the neighborhood kids found out where he was stashing the birds and they tried to steal them. When Mike confronted them, a boy named Gary Flowers ripped the head off of one of the pigeons and threw the remains at Mike. Mike immediately attacked the boy, and that began his fighting legacy. He got a reputation as a fighter in the neighborhood, and the other kids would challenge him. By the age of 11, he was known as a street-hardened thug. Soon he was fighting in organized fights, and he became the famed boxer that we know him as today. After all of these years, Mike still loves pigeons. He even hosted a show about them on Animal Planet called Taking on Tyson. When Mike Tyson was young, he was chubby, he wore glasses, and of course he had that speech impediment that I've been making fun of. These things made him a target for neighborhood bullies. When he was 7 years old, his mother lost her job and the family was forced to move to the Brooklyn Projects, which was known for violence and drugs. When he was in the first grade, an older boy tried to rob him. When the boy realized that he didn't have any money, he tried to steal his lunch, which was meatballs wrapped in aluminum foil. Mike would not give the boy his lunch, so the boy beat him up and stole his glasses. The boy put the glasses in the gas tank of a nearby car. When asked about it as an adult, Mike says that he felt like a coward that day. He felt helpless. When he got older, he developed his fighting skills and then took revenge on the boys who used to bully him. He says he beat up the boy who stole his glasses because he humiliated him. He says that boy may have forgotten what he did, but Mike didn't. Boxing regulations have changed a lot over the years in hopes of making the sport safer. It's still a dangerous and violent sport, of course. Seeing as you are pounding each other with your fists, even if you do have gloves on, that hurts. People have been killed in the ring. In 1947, Sugar Ray Robinson was set to fight Jimmy Doyle. He had a nightmare that he'd actually killed Jimmy in the ring, and he wanted to back out of the fight. The fight promoters got a Catholic priest to talk to him, and finally he agreed to fight. Much to his horror, though, he did kill Jimmy in the ring during that fight. He said that it would haunt him forever. Mike Tyson never killed an opponent in the ring, but during an interview he says that he's disappointed that he never did. Wow, what a nice guy. Most boxers just want to win in the ring. They don't really hope to kill somebody. Boy, Mike really is a one-of-a-kind guy. Not in a good way. Maybe I should stop making fun of his speech now and in case he wants to come and make me the first kill. Mike Tyson and Robin Givens, they were going through a divorce in the late 80s, but they still saw each other fairly regularly. Mike went to visit Robin one night unannounced, and he found her sitting in a car with Brad Pitt. Now, while Brad played tough guys in his movies, he was not a trained boxer like Mike Tyson, and he doesn't really have a violent streak. He's just an actor. Well, according to Mike, Brad was terrified when he caught the two, and he begged him not to get violent with him. Mike says he was angry, but he has since gotten over it. Later it came out that Mike abused Robin during their marriage, so Brad actually had a reason to be afraid. When Mike was young, he was a criminal. He was locked up plenty of times as a child. When he was 13, he ended up at a facility in upstate New York called Elmwood. One of the counselors recognized his talent there, and he recommended him to Cus D'Amato, who was a legendary boxing trainer. One of his trainers was Teddy Atlas. He was a trainer and a commentator. He was known for a scar that he had on his face. It ran from the left side of his forehead all the way to his jaw. He got it in a street fight, and it took 400 stitches to close up the wound. Atlas worked very closely with Mike for a long time, but in 1982, the relationship ended abruptly. Mike got too touchy with a girl who was related to Atlas's wife. When Atlas found out, he flipped out. He pulled a .38 caliber pistol on Mike, who was just a teenager at the time. He fired the gun but missed Mike on purpose. Cus fired Atlas after the incident, and for over 20 years Atlas has had a grudge against Mike and called him a phony and a liar. In August 2013, the two men finally did make amends. Mike admitted that he was wrong, and the two men shook hands. Atlas said that he gave Mike credit for being a gentleman after the 20-year-old ordeal. If you were a kid in the 80s, you likely have memories of playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo. In the game, you are Little Mac, and during the game you battle a series of bizarre and powerful characters until you reach Mike Tyson himself. Unless you were good, he would knock you out in a single blow. Because Mike hadn't become the heavyweight champion yet at that time, Nintendo offered him only $50,000 to use his name and likeness for the game. Had he been a champion at the time, Nintendo probably would have had to pay him millions. Capcom's Street Fighter II, they tried to capitalize on Mike Tyson's popularity as well, but they didn't want to pay him for his likeness. So instead, they created a character who was African-American, and his name was M. Bison. Well, when the game was ready to be released outside Japan, they changed the character's name to avoid legal troubles. They changed the name to Balrog, but that was all they changed. The character still looked like Mike Tyson, and in the game you can hear him taunting his opponents by saying, "If you fight like that again, I'll bite your ear off." Sorry. If you fight like that, I'll bite your ear off. That's what it said. Mike Tyson's known for his love of tigers. Over the years, he's owned several Bengal tigers. Some even slept in the bed with him. He told Conan O'Brien in 2013 that he was going to kiss his tiger, and the tiger accidentally headbutted him, knocking out his gold teeth. In 2002, Mike was in financial trouble. It cost about $4,000 a month to feed a tiger, and Mike couldn't afford to do it any longer. So he sold his tiger, Storm, to Roy Cooper. He's the Indiana tattoo artist who gave Mike his famous facial tattoos. Roy already had 3 other tigers in the shop, but the USDA removed them for being kept in poor conditions. Mike starred in the movie The Hangover, which also had a tiger in the film. In fact, 3 of the characters stole the tiger, and they were responsible for returning it. Mike says that he would love to have another tiger, but he couldn't keep it on his property. He said his wife would never allow him to bring a tiger in the home and have it around the children. Mike Tyson has said some pretty far-fetched things, and his gorilla story is really out there. According to Mike, he and his then-wife Robin Givens were at the zoo, and they saw a silverback gorilla bullying some other gorillas, and for some reason that made Mike mad. He offered the zoo employees $10,000 to open the cage so Mike could punch him in the snot box. His words, not mine. Well, the employee refused that. Mike's lucky, too, that the employee did refuse because, if he went head-to-head with a gorilla, as tough as he is, he would never have had a chance. Chimpanzees have harmed humans in violent encounters, fatally at times, and a male silverback gorilla is more than twice the size of a chimp. Mike Tyson has spent a lot of his money on his own, but it was his former corrupt manager Don King who actually caused his bankruptcy. King didn't just steal money for himself. He also put his family members in bogus jobs where they were also paid by Mike. King's daughter, Debbie, earned $52,000 a year for running Mike's fan club. When his chauffeur/assistant, Rudy Gonzalez, mentioned it, Mike said he didn't know he even had a fan club. So he decided to check it out for himself and went to the facility. When he arrived, he found crates upon crates of unopened letters, along with provocative undergarments and letters from women. Mike and Rudy started opening the letters, and Mike found one from a woman, and in the letter she begged Mike to speak to her son because he was dying of cancer. Mike called immediately after reading the letter and found out that it was too late. The woman's son had died, and Mike burst into tears. Yep, after all of this bad press, Mike has a heart deep down inside, and I'm really glad he does, because hopefully he'll have a heart and not beat the crap out of me for everything I've just been saying about him. Subscribe for more.